This new Skillet album, it's not terrible. Welcome to Music Monday, everybody. I am Benjamin. It is not Monday, and over the weekend I took some time to listen to the new album Dominion by American hard rock, alternative rock, Christian rock band Skillet. And I'm gonna be giving you guys my general opinion on the album, and at the end I'll be going through all the songs track by track. Timestamps are in the description down below. And yeah, we've come to a point where not terrible is a good thing for Skillet, so let's talk about why that is. I love Skillet. Rise was the album that got me into rock music. I later discovered their great previous albums, but unfortunately Rise was the last good album they made, and there are some arguments to be made about the issues that I have and a lot of other people have with Skillet beginning on Rise, but that album is special to me, so I am a little bit blind. But more importantly, Unleashed, their 2016 album, was where things started to go horribly wrong, really quick. Unleashed is a terrible album. It's overproduced arena rock with bland lyrics about rising up against some invisible thing. There was no more depth to the lyrics, no diversity, and everything was so overproduced. And their 2019 album, Victorious, had all the same issues. It definitely was a step up, and there were a couple of decent songs, but the majority was still I'm standing in the storm like never before. The pressure pounds around me and the wind surround me. When the singles for Dominion first started coming out, my hopes were honestly really low, because Surviving the Game, Standing in the Storm and Refuge are 100% the exact same formula they've been using for the last couple of years. So I was actually surprised when both the track and the album Dominion dropped, because those three lead singles are basically the worst things on the album. The storm is rising, I am the earthquake, don't be shaken by me. I come for justice, recognition. Let's talk about sound. This album is heavier than the predecessors, which is not necessarily a good thing, because on a lot of the tracks the heavy instrumental is hopelessly overproduced, but there are generally some good riffs and moments on here, especially Seth Morrison, who's a great guitarist, but his work gets beaten up in the mix. Drums, bass, keyboard, all good, but not extraordinary, typically just what you expect from a simple arena rock song. Vocals. Vocals are horrible for the most part. John Cooper is a good singer, and Jen Ledger is, I would argue, an even better singer, and their chemistry works well, but they have this compression in their production that takes out every edge in their voice and makes the vocals sound bland, interchangeable, and it's hilarious if you look at the moments where John Cooper tries to be heavier and scream, and they overproduce it to a sound that reminds me of like an Instagram filter voice changer. And it's not like it's a natural progression for the band, because on some songs the production is completely different. Compare the hook of Standing in the Storm with Destiny. It's like two different people are singing. The most apparent case though is the softer songs. Look at Refuge, which is their standard formulaic Jesus Christ is my ex song. It was The One Who Holds the Stars on Unleashed, My Anchor on Victorious, and now it's He's My Refuge. All those songs sound the exact same, but then listen to Valley of Death, where John Cooper shows what his voice can actually do, and it's so much better than the rest. And then there's Forever or the End, which blows my mind, because Jen Ledger's voice on this song is 100 times better than anything else she's done with Skillet. How are they in the studio and listen to her raw voice and then the overproduced one, and then choose the overproduced one for most of their work? It's so frustrating. I trust you at all times. I'm not afraid for you, all my refuge. Let's talk about lyrics. You either have rise up songs like Standing in the Storm, Dominion, Shout Your Freedom, that tell you to stay strong and don't let them get you down. This is the same thing they've been writing about for years, without ever going into any detail as to what they're fighting, why they are fighting it, and how they are fighting it. It's just, don't let them get you down. And then they do that with the most overused lyrics ever. Fearless like a lion, which they used on this album twice. Heard it before, I don't care. The band said that they want to empower people with this album, and The lyrics are so bland and generic that everyone can be empowered because there's literally no statement made. On the title track, they say, "Don't let the empire take control." What fucking empire are you talking about? And then there's the other side, songs that praise the Lord in a cool way so that your religious mom lets you listen to rock music. Refuge is literally the song Anchor all over again from their last album, and the problem is not that it's a song about Jesus. I don't have any issue with that. The problem is that it's the same song about Jesus. It's the same lyrics with the same content all over again. No new idea. There is some hope though, because Valley of Death has emotionality to it and is not completely reused and recycled, and Forever or the End is actually a new lyrical idea. It's not about Jesus, it's not about rising up, it's about missing the person that someone used to be while still being with that same person. Is it wrong that I miss you because you never left? That's an actual conflict, that's an actual topic. It's not something I've heard before. That's really good. But apart from those two songs, lyrically, same old, same old.
Is there a place where I can leave the world behind and say goodbye to every painful memory where darkness ain't my destiny?
And now I'm gonna break down all the songs on this album very quickly, starting with Surviving the Game. This song is overproduced arena rock with no lyrical content at all, and there's nothing more to say about this song. Standing in the Storm is exactly the same as track number 1. The main riff is really good, but covered by layers of overproduction, and there is something like a breakdown on here, actually a cool idea, but overproduced. Dominion, the title track, just like the first two songs, but less overproduced, great main riff, and the guitar solo at the end is one of the best moments on the album. If you just cut the first two songs and start the album with this song, it's so much better. Here's a pacing tip: you don't need the same song 3 times at the start of the album to hype people up. One's enough. Valley of Death is emotional, a slow build that explodes at the end, John Cooper's best vocal performance of the album, and nice keyboards and strings. Overall, a really good song. Beyond Incredible is another hype-up, workout, arena rock song, but since this time not the entire album sounds like this, it's actually okay. Not great, but it's alright, and the instrumental, especially at the end, is actually really good. Destiny is same old during the verses, which is unfortunate because the chorus is my favorite one of the entire album. It's absolutely great and catchy, good production, and it reminds me of their Rise era, a really good song that sadly doesn't lean too much into their older sound. Refuge is literally Anchor from their last album. Before they even released the song, I had heard it before. I don't have anything else to say. This could have been a Rise bonus track. It reminds me a lot of that era, especially during the verses. Lyrically, very bland, but just like I said for Beyond Incredible, if not the entire album is made up of rise up arena rock, it's actually pretty okay, and that goes for this song as well. Destroyer, this is Skillet going a little heavier. It reminds me a lot of Fight the Fury, John Cooper's heavier side project, only that Fight the Fury features better lyrics and better production. It's a nice shake-up and a cool riff, but it's nothing new. Forever or the End has a great vocal performance by John Cooper, but an outstanding vocal performance by Jen Ledger. She is insane on this track. It's new lyrical content. This song could have been on their Awake album. It's refreshing, it's new, it touches on an interesting topic. It's a really good song. Ignite suffers because of its placement. It runs into all the same issues as the other standard Skillet songs, but it's definitely the best one of them. But since you've heard all the other songs before on this album, when you hear Ignite right at the end, you're just bored. White Horse. Okay. I've been giving Skillet a hard time this entire review because they didn't innovate themselves, so all of you probably expect me to love White Horse. I don't. No. I like it. I like what it's trying to be. It's not perfect, but it's interesting, and at this point I'll take interesting over what Skillet chose to define as perfect enough to beat their lead singles, but just randomly starting to rap and then weirdly drawing out the syllables is super out of place. The electronic breakdown in the chorus took some time getting used to, but now I actually weirdly enjoy it, but the vocals in the verses are so bad. Even with their last couple of albums, bad albums, the last track at least had some decency and a nice guitar outro, and now we get this. White Horse is just very underwhelming. To summarize, a lot of the same issues as their previous albums, with new ideas and new influences sprinkled in. If you enjoy the hype-up style that Skillet are now known for, then this album is for you. If you expect anything to be different than their other last albums, maybe just listen to a few select songs. My personal favorites are in the description down below. It's basically half of the album, and half of the album is forgettable. So I'll give this new Skillet album a 5 out of 10. It's not horrible, mostly, but it only has a good few moments. When a band releases a new album, you want to think of it as getting a new book. And Skillet just delivered another chapter to Unleashed, and it's really sad to see, but this album has the potential to be the last chapter in this Unleashed book, with hope for their next album. And those are my thoughts on the new Skillet album. Let me know what you think with a comment down below, leave a like for the YouTube algorithm T-Rex, and see you next week.